Have you ever felt like someone was watching you, even though no one was there? Imagine if that feeling started after a breakup, haunting you every night. I had just ended things with my boyfriend of 2 years, Matt. After blocking him on everything, I thought I was free. A few nights later, I heard odd noises, the creak of footsteps outside my window making me freeze. I convinced myself it was just the city noise, but a part of me wondered if it could be Matt. The stress was piling up with a huge group project due. I worked all night editing and sent it just before midnight. The next morning in class, my professor pulled up the file and I felt proud. But then my stomach dropped. Instead of my project, a grainy video played. A figure in a featureless mask muttered, whispering my name. Frozen in place, I wanted to cry but couldn't. I felt hundreds of eyes on me as I fled the room. After class, I begged the professor to believe I'd sent the right file. He confirmed 2 files were sent. I thought that was the end of it until days later I woke up logged out of all my social media. I'd been hacked again, this time with personal photos leaked. I felt exposed, raw, helpless. One night my phone buzzed. I added a stranger who sent photos of me taken outside my window. Now I live in constant fear, haunted by the feeling of being watched. Each night the noises outside grow louder. Last night I got another photo taken from inside my apartment. If you've experienced anything similar, write a comment below. Remember, you're not alone, but be careful. Someone might be listening.
Have you ever felt a strange pull, leading you somewhere you weren't sure was safe, but your curiosity or ambition got the best of you? Sometimes it's that single choice that changes everything in ways you could never imagine. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that happened back in my college days, a time when social pressures and future goals clouded judgment, sometimes dangerously. It's the story of one invitation that seemed promising, but turned out to be a doorway into a nightmare. Like most college students, I threw myself into the grind, building a LinkedIn presence and working to land an internship. I'd almost given up when one day I received a message from a reputable consulting firm. A real message, not spam, written directly to me. The message came from someone named Evan Klein, who said he'd be conducting my interview. Naturally, I tried looking him up online, but found nothing. It was strange. No social media, no professional records, no LinkedIn. The location was a coffee shop in a quiet part of town. Oddly, it wasn't near campus at all. I asked my friend Chris to drop me off since he had nothing else to do, and he agreed. Little did I know, Chris's simple offer might have saved my life. When we arrived, I asked Chris to wait for me in the car while I went inside. But the moment I reached the address, I froze. There was no coffee shop. Instead, there was just a desolate parking lot filled with debris and abandoned cars. Confused, I checked the address again, and just as I started to turn around, I heard someone call my name. There he was, Evan, towering in a perfectly tailored suit, standing next to a sleek black car. I almost felt relieved, but the surroundings were unsettling. His car, a luxurious Mercedes, gleamed under the dim streetlights as he invited me in, suggesting we head to another location. Just as I opened the passenger door, I caught a glimpse into the back seat, and my heart stopped. Lying flat, barely visible in the shadows, was a figure with a silver baton clutched in one hand. My stomach dropped. This was not just a misunderstanding, it was a trap. My instinct kicked in. I slammed the door shut and bolted back toward the street, yelling for Chris as I ran. But then, I heard tires screeching. My pursuer had gotten into the car and was following me, headlights glaring down the dark, empty street. I could hear my heart pounding as I darted down a narrow alley, praying I'd find an escape. Just when I thought I was cornered, I spotted a rusty fire escape ladder. Fueled by pure adrenaline, I leapt up and scrambled to safety, climbing as fast as I could. I peered down, watching the car come to a stop right below me. Evan stepped out, scanning the alley, but after a few tense seconds, he finally got back in and sped away. Months later, I heard a news story that made my blood run cold. A student from a nearby college had gone missing under eerily similar circumstances. No trace of them had been found, except for one clue: a silver baton left at the last place they were seen. Have you ever had a strange encounter that felt like a brush with something dark? Share your experience in the comments, or let us know if you've heard of stories like this. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you, closer than they should be? Like every move you made was being silently recorded in someone's mind? This story isn't from a distant past. It's something that happened recently, right as I began my first year of college. My family helped me move in, and I soon discovered I'd be sharing a Jack and Jill bathroom setup, 2 rooms connected by a shared bathroom. I'd be living with 3 guys, 2 in the other room, and then my direct roommate, Victor. I knew one of the other guys from orientation, but Victor, he was the mystery. I had already followed him on social media, and while his profile seemed odd, I thought nothing of it. When I messaged him, he responded in short, dry sentences. His profile looked like one of those quiet, elusive types, maybe a bit of a gamer. And when we finally met in person, he looked just like his profile, pale, thin, with a slight unassuming mustache. I tried breaking the ice, asking him about his interests. He barely made eye contact, mumbling vague replies. When I asked what kind of music he liked, he simply replied, "Music doesn't fill the emptiness." The first real shock was his behavior when he gamed on his PS5. Victor would make odd grunts, violently shake as he mashed buttons, sometimes laughing quietly to himself. One night, I came back from hanging out with friends. Late around 1 a.m., Victor was in bed, and I moved quietly toward my own, trying not to wake him. But as I reached for something in my cabinet, the hairs on my arm prickled. I turned, and there he was, wide awake, watching me with an odd grin. I couldn't help but gasp. "Victor, what are you doing?" He just murmured, "It's time," then turned to face the wall. Months passed, and I was learning to tolerate Victor's presence. One day, I returned from a late class, and as soon as I walked in, Victor jumped up, startled, asking why I was back early. At that point, I realized my phone charger and scissors were missing. I asked if he'd seen them, and he quietly handed them to me. But as he did, his box accidentally tipped over, scattering its contents. My heart sank. Out fell a sticky note with my name. Alongside it, I saw a plastic case holding strands of hair, my missing glasses, one of my socks, and a disposable picture of me taken from my desk as a joke. That night I stayed awake, terrified he'd come back to reclaim his collection. But exhaustion took over, and I fell asleep. The next morning I noticed the box was gone, and as luck would have it, my resident advisor knocked on my door shortly after. I explained the situation, but without the box, he couldn't do much. Victor returned later that day, denying any knowledge of the box. I was trapped with him for the rest of the semester. Now in the second term, we still share the room, though I stay out as much as possible. Victor claimed he'd never do anything like that again, but every time I think about that box, my mind runs wild with questions. Why my photo? Why my socks? And then there were those strands of hair labeled with my name. So now I wonder, was this just a weird collection, or something much darker?